Hey, beautiful friend. Welcome back to the podcast. Today, I want to talk about my secret formula for epic women's health. Yes, we are going to break down my formula for epic women's health on this podcast so that you can learn what works for your body. How many of you feel that once you've crested over 40, sometimes it's over 45, sometimes it's over 50, that our bodies just go wonky? It's like the things that used to work for all the things for our sleep, for our good cognition and feeling rested. We were able to manage our anxiety and our stress, but all of a sudden that starts to go out the window. And then maybe our waistlines are getting like a little heavier and we're putting on the weight gain. And it's like just looking at food makes my thighs grow. Like that's what I would be saying. It's like, whoa, it's like my body just started to go a bit wonky when I got into this, let's just say, middle age. And I'm learning that a lot of women are experiencing that. And so I really want to really take you through the framework and what I use when I am coaching clients. And that is the Epic Success Formula. And this is not just mindset coaching, right? I know there's a lot of mindset coaching around food and behaviors with food. And I'm not saying that's not important. It is. But I think it goes much more beyond that. And, as a habit coach, I am really into, are you taking the action that you want to be taking? Are you making things into a habit? Because that's going to make the process easier, right? We talked about last week that habits aren't something we really have to think about. We just do them. Like brushing our teeth. We don't really have to think about it. We just do it. We just drive our car to work, right? We just do the things that are habitual, right? I have my morning coffee. It's just what I do. I can't imagine a morning without having morning coffee, right? It's just such ingrained into my lifestyle. And I love that habit. And coffee is good for you in smaller doses, right? And it's just a thing I do. And so it's also about what you're doing. It's not just about mindset. So we broke down those two components on last week's podcast. And then I want to fill in with the Epic Success Formula for women's health. Now, I want to go back and tell you why this is important to me. If you don't know the story of why I pivoted this way, and I actually started my health coaching journey working with women to lose weight. And I'll tell you why this is so important to me. I have a mom who has struggled with her weight for decades. I have seen her cry, gain weight, lose weight, cry during the losing weight process, cry during the gaining weight process, go to Weight Watcher meetings, do all the fad diets, yo-yo back and forth, up and down with her weight. And it was a constant battle for her. I saw her hide. I saw her wear clothing that was bigger and baggier than what she wanted to do. I saw her sit in places and in groups of other people in the back, not wanting to be seen and not wanting to put herself out there. And it was painful to watch. As a child who loves their mom immensely, and I might just tear up because I almost lost her in December. For those of you who've known, I've shared that story of, unfortunately, a hospital stay that wasn't going very well, and she was neglected in some of the care she received. Thankfully, we are through that. And so I love my mom dearly, and I've seen her struggle. And so I've watched how following expert advice, following these patterns, following these ways of treating your body were supposed to make the pounds melt off. And unfortunately, it didn't. It's the diet culture, right? It's like drink these shakes, eat these foods that come in these plastic containers and contribute plastic and heck and wreak havoc to our, not only our environment, but also to our bodies because they're kind of fake foods and they're ultra processed and we throw them in a microwave for 3 minutes and then they're supposed to be a nutritious meal. They are not. They are not. Now we know better, right? So instead of being angry about it, it's been my mission to educate women how to take care of their bodies. And it's not by buying ultra processed foods or these meal gimmicks or these shake gimmicks that don't work. Now, if there is something out there that works, yes, I will be fully on board and talk about it, particularly if the science supports it. Not just this, oh, it worked for me, one person, and we don't know if these images were photoshopped. I can't buy into that anymore. I feel that many of us have done that or have watched loved ones do that, and people get harmed. And They spend money on these products that don't really work. So I want to talk about what works. And I want to be an advocate for what works. And my value system is I am honest, open, and transparent about that. And that's why I want to help you understand what's going to work if you're looking to reclaim your health in 2025, as well as slim down your waistline. And for a lot of people, they may be feeling shame around that. And I don't want you to feel shame. I don't want my mom to feel shame. I don't want any woman to feel shame about her current size of her body. And I don't want her to feel any shame for wanting it to be healthier or slimmer or feel better in clothing. So let me just put that out there. And I'm also an advocate of many different ways that work to get there. And if it takes GLP-1 agonists or other medications to do that, there's other medications besides the GLP-1 agonists out there that are effective, that I've become educated on. I support them wholeheartedly because here's what we know. Obesity is a chronic disease, and it is a disease that leads to other diseases. Once you are obese, you are more likely to develop heart disease. You are more likely to develop cancer. You are more likely to develop diabetes. Like, it is one condition that gives you so many other conditions. And why I'm so knowledgeable is because I've seen my mom go through all of this. As someone who is morbidly obese, right? She has the autoimmune dysfunction. She has the heart disease. She has the diabetes. Like, all of these conditions came on because of an unhealthy weight. So it's not about body shaming. It is about getting proper health. And I will tell you, we are in a sick care system, not a health care system. The system that we have doesn't really teach patients and teach us how to get and stay well. It just cures us of our sickness, and it refers us to specialists and this, but it really doesn't get to the basics of what creates health. Lifestyle choices comprise 93% of your health and longevity potential. Let me just say that because that's new data. Lifestyle choices affect 93% of your health and your longevity potential. We want to say, oh, it's in our genes or it's genetic. And yes, that can create a propensity, but it's not a guarantee. What causes health? Lifestyle choices that you make. Lifestyle choices that you make. And this is what I want to educate women on, particularly because I know they struggle in this area, particularly as they go north of 40. Because we go through so many hormonal shifts. We go through hormonal shifts coming into puberty. We go through hormonal shifts coming out of puberty, right? And so our reproductive years, we kind of run a little bit on autopilot for a lot of us, not all of us though. We're finding dramatic shifts in health, even in the 30s and 40s for women. Because nobody is teaching proper nutrition. We're not learning it in pharmacy schools. We're not learning it in nursing schools. We're not learning it in medical schools. And what we put into our bodies, ladies, it matters. It matters. And please don't get informed off of an infomercial, right? Get informed from the data that we have. Is it great data? No. But we have good data. We have actually good data on what works. Is it super precise for everybody? No. And that's where trial and error comes in. So let's talk about my EPIC process, because it's not just mindset. It's the actions and your lifestyle choices that you're making, because that's going to set you up for health, longevity, having a body that functions the way it should. Your body should be pooping every day, right? That is one metric inside Transform in 10 that we monitor. If you're not pooping every day, that tells us your body is not functioning optimally, right? We want our bodies to detoxify. We want to get rid of the waste products. We don't want our bodies hanging on to that. That makes us more likely to set up inflammation and more likely to become sick. So I'm offering a path for optimization. right? That's when we feel amazing. That's when we have an abundant amount of energy, right? And we want that as we age into our 50s, our 60s, our 70s, and our 80s. I want that for myself. I saw that that was robbed of some people that I love dearly in my life, and I don't want that life. I want a different path. I want a more epic path when it comes to my health. And that's why I'm living by that motto, epic you, epic health. And so are the ladies inside Transform in 10. So let's define what my epic process is. And it is all about being epic. So we're going to take that word epic, EPIC, and break it down. So epic. So where do I start with people when I'm working with them? And where do you want to start with yourself? I love starting with education. E, right? Epic is for education. E is for education. You are learning what we know that works for optimal health care. So health care, right? Your whole body health, your mind, your body, your soul, and your cells, right? All of that. So we want to know what's going to work. Well, you know what? I knew my body really well in my teens and my 20s. But then I started to notice that my body was shifting in my mid 40s. And I'm like, what the heck? As I'm getting healthier, as I'm breaking up with alcohol, as I'm drinking less, like things are really shifting. Things are really going wonky. What the heck? Why do I feel this way after all of a sudden I'm eating this meal that I've been able to tolerate? And now I'm having some gut issues. Now this is going on for me, right? Now I'm noticing that my energy is a little sluggish. I'm noticing that I'm becoming a worrywart, and I used to not be a worrywart. Like my anxiety is more up. Why is all this happening? It didn't make sense to me because I didn't have any major life changes going on. There wasn't moving. I wasn't getting a divorce. I wasn't doing all of those changes that we know is super stressful to the body. So what was happening? So I needed to learn. I needed to go get educated. And I spent a lot of time educating myself in many different areas last year. And I've shared a lot of those experiences that I've had, a lot of those learnings that I've had, particularly around hormonal health for women and cortisol levels and stress levels and how all that impacts our waistline and impacts our biology and impacts our brain. So I've shared much of that with you on previous episodes, but really it was about education because I wasn't the most up to date on hormones. I was living thinking hormones were bad for everybody. Nobody should be on them. They cause breast cancer. They cause blood clots. And here, lo and behold, all of that had been put to rest and I did not know. So I had some experts on the podcast last year sharing their knowledge. I have experts coming on in the future sharing their knowledge around this area because I want you to understand the latest. Sometimes we have to unlearn things. Sometimes we have to say, oh, wow, what I learned 20 years ago is no longer relevant. It's changed. So I have to update my thoughts about it. I have to update, my knowledge base because I have been outdated. And so education, right? It's not like your body just is like, doesn't want to be optimal. It just, if we're not keeping up with the latest, we're just not know how to run this machine to make it work for us. And look, we also know that as we age, we tend to get a little lazy. We tend to be like, oh yeah, I've done all the education. Oh yeah, I worked really, really hard. And so I don't really, really want to work really hard, or I really don't want to go back to school. I get it. And that's why I love podcasts, right? There are ways that we can gather information from others through storytelling and through this easy way that we can just take a walk and take a podcast with us or work out at the gym and get those learnings. We have so many great educators in this podcast space. Many of them I look up to, many of them that I watch, and then I share some of their tools and principles here on the podcast in case you don't have all the time that I do to be listening to all the podcasts. So breaking it down here. So our bodies do become a little lazy. And so we want to make sure that we're not taking that personally. We're not saying, oh, I'm just being lazy. It's like, no, our bodies tend to slow down. But how can we reverse that? Or what can we do to optimize it at least so it doesn't slow down so much? Because maybe we're not ready to slow down. So education, like what do you need to learn? Maybe you didn't know all those shakes and prefabricated meals aren't the way to weight loss. Maybe this is a new learning for you. not understanding food and how it affects your biology, right? I had to understand all of that. I used to see my mom do a point system about food, which really took her away from knowing about the quality of the food and knowing, what not all food is created equal, right? There's food that our cells need, and then there's food that's marketed to us that tastes good, that a lot of what's in that our cells don't need. And so if they don't need it and we keep eating it, we're just going to store the calories as fat because our bodies are like, well, I can't use this. There's no nutrients here. And it's designed to make me keep eating. And it's designed to hit my reward center to make this dopamine hit. So I go back for more because, right? Dopamine is all about wanting more, more, more. That's why alcohol, right? We want more and more and more because of the dopamine. Dopamine is the neurotransmitter that says, keep going. We want more. And so if we now hire chemists and stick them into the lab to create more of a dopamine hit, depending on how the food is made up, then of course we're going to be overeating. And then we're going to wonder why we're still hungry. Because our cells are like, hey, I'm empty here. I need some zinc. I need some selenium. I need some phytonutrients, and nothing that you just stuck in your mouth and went into the stomach gave me any of that. So it's going to continue to give hunger signals and say, hey, I still need some stuff. But what you're putting down the esophagus is not helping. We need different stuff. So really educating yourself about the macros, about the micronutrients and the macronutrients, right? What do your cells need? And this day and age, the thing I love so much is it doesn't have to be a guessing game. We've got formulas, we've got tools inside of Transform in 10 that help you really dial it in for you. And if you really want to get scientific and really want to know, then we test your blood, right? Test your blood. It'll tell you what you got, what kind of levels you're deficient in, what kind of levels you have, what you're working with, and then you work to optimize that. You can do this on your own. That's what I love about all these new companies coming out. You don't necessarily need a doctor. You can do a lot of this stuff with a health coach. And you can order this stuff, and a health coach can order some of this stuff. Certain health coaches like myself can help you navigate that and order stuff for you. So we can get all this education and really get to know your biology, really get to know your body, and really get to know how it should be fed, how it should be treated, how it should be loved and nurtured. Because whether we are 1 year of age or 91 years of age, our bodies need to be loved and nurtured constantly, right? We don't shower at once and say, you're clean at 50. We're not going to shower again until we're 75. We're going to just let you go 25 years and not one shower will do it. Our bodies need constant care. And when we take care of them, they begin to take care of us. And so I really think education is a key piece. So I start there, right? It's part of the EPIC process. When you come into Transform in 10, we assess, like, what is your knowledge? What do you feel deficient in? What do you need more information on, right? And you're led through this process and you're educated throughout the process about exactly how your body is going to run optimally, right? You can be average, that's fine, but I want to shoot for optimally. I want your energy levels to be soaring. If you want to be losing weight and really burning fat, let's optimize that. Let's get you the results that you want. So education is super important. And some people don't even know like the major 3 hormones that regulate all the other hormones. And that's where I love to start with the education is like, these are the 3 classic hormones. Please let's not look any further until we know that these 3 hormones are normalized or optimized, whatever one you prefer. Because if they are not, they're going to send your sex hormones out of balance. They are going to send other hormones out of balance. And you're just going to feel out of whack. And you're going to be like, well, I'm on these other medications. Why aren't they working? Because your big 3 hormones are the master drivers of all the other processes, right? We are a symphony. We are an orchestra. And all the different instruments need to be playing. But there's 3 big ones. And so when I'm still doing these living room chats, these hormone happy hour chats that I'm just loving, women are like, wow, I've never got this level of education from my doctor or anybody. Nobody's ever told me about this. And so being really educated on how your body works, super, super important. All right, so that's the E in EPIC. And then once we have the education, once we know what to do, guess what? Then we put a plan together. We put a process together. If you look at Atomic Habits, right? He's all about the process. Like the gold is in the process, right? You can love the goal, but I want you to love the process, because if you love the process, you'll stick to it. Who loves eating chicken and broccoli 4 to 5 nights a week? No one. So why would we put that as part of your plan or part of your process? It's not. It's not, right? I've seen women do that. I've tried it. Actually, I did this one diet when I was in my residency program where I ate like a baked potato, all this broccoli, and a little bit of cheese. And I did that 5 nights a week. I was also, not making a ton of money. So that was like cost effective to do. And I remember eating that meal, and I remember my one friend was like, "Are you eating a baked potato with cheese and broccoli again?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm actually, no, don't just eat this for lunch. I eat this for dinner." It's like I was starving my cells by just offering this limited amount of nutrients to them. And so I just look back and go, what was I thinking back then? What were we thinking as a society back then? It's just so interesting to see the choices we made, and yet we're still here and alive and ticking. So the body is extremely resilient, but now I don't think doing that, I would function the same way as I did in my 20s. So looking at the process, and this is where we build habits, right? Is starting to build the habit, because we're now changing the process. We're looking at a plan and we're implementing that. And so the process is something that none of us ever get educated on, right? We would say, when you're picking up your prescription, I remember, we'd hand out insulin, we'd hand out metformin, we'd say, are you following a diabetes type diet? But nobody ever told me, what does that really look like? Like in pharmacy school, I knew it was about carbs and I knew it was about sweets. Now we're teaching a lot more in pharmacy schools, but back then it was like, wow, I didn't have all the information and all the science behind it. And we didn't know. We just said, take more insulin. But we all know insulin causes weight gain. So why would you tell people who already have a problem with type 2 diabetes? Most of them have an overweight issue, and just say, oh, it doesn't matter how many carbs you eat, just keep eating carbs. And then if you eat more carbs, just take more insulin, which causes more weight gain, which causes more of the problem and more inflammation. So it wasn't quite finessed and well thought out. And now we actually don't want people going up on their insulin amount. And that means we want people to look at the amount of carbs and look at their macros and make changes on that end that are actually going to whittle their middle, lose weight, so then that bodies require less insulin if they were type 2 or insulin resistant, right? So now we have a different attack and a different approach and a different plan. And that's what you want to develop for you, or have somebody help you develop, is a plan that's going to work, right? Also, as part of the E in EPIC, it's education and the end goal, right? Always begin with the end in mind. What's your end goal? And that's going to inform the P, the process, the plan. Right? So that's what we're doing as part of the EPIC formula, is putting together that process and plan. So inside Transform in 10, inside Drink Less Lifestyle, which is inside EPIC U, right? You have the plan and the process. Now, we can fine tune that for you, right? Which is why having a coach is so helpful. Talking through this is so helpful, because you're saying, well, this part is working, this part isn't, or this part I don't know how to make work yet. So having that process and falling in love with the process, not just the goal, is key. And let's move on. We are going to look at the I in EPIC, which stands for implement, right? So it's nice to have the process. It's nice to have the plan, but are you implementing it? Are you taking the action? Are you doing it, right? We want to make sure that you are implementing the plan, following through on that process. That is huge. So a lot of women I work with, they are highly educated, or maybe just missing a morsel or two here of education. And once we fix that, they're like, oh, okay, this makes sense. Maybe they've tried a plan, maybe they've tried a process, and I'd love to know what process and what plans they have tried, if there has been any success, and if there hasn't, and what the success and what the non-success or failures look like, right? And what needs to be improved upon to be tweaking that. And then when we implement, we're seeing, okay, what's blocking you from implementing? Because a lot of people will have the first two parts and then they'll get to the implementation stage and like, I just keep falling short here. And so we have to peel back what is so difficult about implementing. And really asking yourself, what is the hang up? What is so difficult about implementing? Because we can be as smart and we can be educated and we could be rattling off this. And maybe you have your own podcast where you're saying all this stuff, but are you implementing it? That's where the rubber meets the road, right? So it's great to have the education. It's great to have the plan and the process, but you really have to start implementing it. So you don't even need to be the smartest person. Do you know who usually gets the most success? The implementers, the executors, the people who are doing it. And so when you're ever feeling stuck, you're just like, oh, where am I not implementing? Because generally it's the implementation phase where people get the most stuck. That's where I see the most stuckness happening. So once you start implementing, this is like the beautiful part, because this is where a lot of people will hold back or feel like they're not moving or making progress. But once they start implementing, whoo, that little train that was in the station is now taking off and it's speeding up and it's speeding up. And that's when the momentum starts coming. And so just going from zero action to 1%, that 1%, huge, because now we're going to build momentum. Now we're going to start reclaiming your health. Now you're going to start feeling better. Now you're going to start firing on all cylinders. Now your cognition is going to be better, right? And now you're going to start not only feeling better and fueling yourself better, and then eventually you're going to start seeing results. And that feels amazing. So a lot of times you could get stuck here. So helping yourself get unstuck in the implementation area is a lot of times where I'm focusing. So don't feel like it's too overwhelming, because when the brain feels overwhelmed, it won't take action. And that's why I like to focus on small, steady actions, because the brain can get behind that. And the brain can see that as progress, and the brain can start calling those wins, right? And focusing on those wins is widely important. We are talking all the time in Transform in 10. What are your wins? What are you working on? What have you made progress on today that's different than last week? Because I want to see how you're moving forward. Brain loves that forward momentum. And then when it comes to C, it's about being consciously consistent. Consistent. I love being consistent and committed. Oh my goodness, this is gold when you are committed and you are showing up consistently, because now we are building that habit. Now our brain is firing differently and wiring differently. Now the brain is starting to lay down those train tracks and you're going faster and faster, and it's becoming easier and easier. How many of you have tried doing something in the first couple of weeks? It's hard. It's challenging. Your brain wants to fight you. Your brain wants to hit the snooze button. Your brain just says, no, not today. I'm too sore, right? Or no, I deserve a break. I deserve a rest. And yes, you do deserve rest and you do deserve breaks. And we build those in, right? We're not running full speed wholeheartedly. We're not like super athletes in here. We are building in breaks because the body does need that. However, it's not about pooping out on yourself. It's about, okay, I showed up yesterday, I can show up today. And maybe today's even a rest day and you're not having a lot to do on today's schedule, which is nice. And then tomorrow you're getting back at it again. You're doing the things. And building in those habits over time is what's going to make the process easy, automatic, and sustainable. And that's what we want. We want the habits to be sustainable. Now, as I went through this epic formula, I know that you know all of this. I understand that this probably isn't new information for you, but it's packaged in a way that makes it simple and easy. You got 4 steps. Where are the 4 steps? What one of the steps do you need, right? Which one of those 4 steps will get you moving? Which one of those 4 steps do you need in order to take action, right? Is it looking at, do I need different education? Have I been looking at my diet all the wrong way? Have I been thinking about movement all the wrong way? Or am I thinking it's just diet and exercise and that's everything that I need to lose weight as a woman going through menopause? And I bet you it's going to be more than that. You're going to want to be more intimate with your body. You're going to want to know more information about your body as it's changing, and changing in a beautiful way, my friend, right? Just because we're entering a different season doesn't mean it's any less than the previous season. I know a lot of women who enter into their later years in life and they feel even more on top of it. They feel still that they're still sharp, they're still vibrant, they're still contributing. And I want that for you. Right? I want you to contribute as long as you want to and in a way you want to. I have some friends in my life. They are well beyond my years, and I love them dearly. They are a shining example of where I want to go. They're super energetic, still putting out lots of positive contribution into the world, loving on children, volunteering in ways that just are so heartwarming. And they couldn't do that if they didn't have their health, if they didn't invest in their health. And for each one of them, I ask them, what are their healthy habits? And they tell me. And it is about the principles that we teach in Transform in 10. They are literally saying that these are the things that they do, and that's able to keep them high functioning and still contributing in high levels in ways that their peers cannot. And they didn't wait to do it, right? They got on it. They educated themselves. They came up with the process. They started implementing, and they became consistent. And that's the epic formula, my friend, for your health and reclaiming your health this year in 2025. In fact, I'm headed to a conference this weekend called Reclaiming Your Health 2025, and I'll be presenting there and inspiring other like-minded women at this conference, because it's really important that we cheer each other on. It's so easy to get sidetracked, so easy to get distracted. But really, when it comes down to taking care of ourselves, our health matters most. All right, my friend, so good to be with you today, and I will see you next week. Oh, and if you want to join us in Transform in 10, it is not too late. We are having our first call tomorrow, so please join us. You will get access to the workbooks. You'll get access to me, the community. It's a wonderful, great community to be involved in, and hopefully there are still some bonuses that you can grab if you join us. Like I said, we have our next call tomorrow, and I hope to see you there. Take care. See you next week.